We are grateful that the incident did not result in loss of life or further injury.
Now, things just happened this morning, so the investigation is in its early parts of the job, and we still don't know anything about the warrant that brought the officers to the house or what unfolded in those fateful moments early this morning. But as I mentioned before, we know from recent events that these types of shootings have become sadly common around here. And Kent joins us now with some unique insight into what's going on. Hi, Kent.
Hi, Jana. Yeah, if you look specifically at the shootings within our borders of Minnesota that have injured officers within the last year, a disturbing trend has emerged. I talked about that with a use of force expert and former Golden Valley officer today who has unique insight into what unfolded.
As word spread that 5 officers were shot while serving a warrant in Benton County this morning, even those with years of law enforcement experience were stunned.
That's about as rare as it gets. Throughout my career, I can't remember even hearing of 5 officers being shot at one incident.
Joe Dutton spent years serving on a multi-jurisdictional SWAT team and says the most surprising news of all is that nobody was killed.
Glad those officers are going to be okay. That's really good news, because that's normally not the case in something like this. The one thing people have to understand is when you are going to conduct a warrant anywhere, you're basically in a fatal funnel when you enter. You're going into their environment, usually not any cover, especially if somebody's laying in wait for you and they got the weapon systems to do you great harm.
And it's been happening all too often across Minnesota this year. 13 different officers have now been shot.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people trying to take an officer or deputy's life.
And in all but 2 cases, they were serving warrants or responding to homes outside of the metro area.
A lot of people think that all the real criminal activity is in Lake Hennepin or Ramsey counties, which is probably true. But those outer counties, that's a dangerous job. They don't often have the backup that an officer in Hennepin is going to have. You can't tell where the criminal activity is going to be. I just wish people would kind of maybe take into context, how difficult that job is.
We had a lot of help out there.
And the Benton County Sheriff says today's shooting would have been even more difficult and dangerous if it weren't for the support that came from all directions.
When there's a need in this community in law enforcement, people come.
Are they going to need a lot of support moving forward, let alone the support they got today?
I would say so. It's going to be difficult for them because those are small counties and they don't have big sheriff's departments. They don't have big city police departments up there.
Now, as we mentioned at the outset, there are still a lot of details to still emerge in this case from Benton County. And one of the questions Joe says he has is whether the drug task force was working directly with a SWAT team. And again, just how so many of those task force officers ended up being shot this morning. Jana.
Yeah, Kent, and we should tell our audience we can't tell them tonight when we'll get that information. Every time is different. Sometimes it comes right away. Sometimes it takes several days.
Yeah, and he said just keep in mind when the BCA is involved, you have another agency that comes in. They want to do this investigation, and we also have a prosecution that will follow because the man who did the shooting here is now under arrest.
All right. Thanks so much, Kent. Appreciate it.